You're watching live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Across from me is super producer Carlene Bragg. She's here.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Thursday. We have almost made it to the end of the week.
Almost.
We're almost there. It's an exciting time because, look, we're almost to Friday. It's always exciting when you get close to Friday.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that feeling where you're almost
You're the
at Friday.
cheerleader of the week. You cheer us on. You're like, we're so close, Carlene.
We're so close. I said that Monday. I was like, we're so close.
close.
We're so close. And, you know, it was just Monday, but we made it. It's been a busy week so far. It's going to be a busy day again. So, look, buckle up. Put your seatbelts on. We have a lot going for you today, including the NFL draft is today.
That's right.
We have a look at Lambeau Field. That's where the 2025 NFL draft will happen. I checked the weather because I was just curious, you know, how cold.
What's
or
end of
warm.
April like in Wisconsin?
It's a brisk 58.
That's
the high.
That's jackets.
And the draft takes place in the evening, so it's going to be cooler there. I don't want my Midwest folks, you know, that watch the stream to get on me and say cold. It's not cold, but so yeah, it is. That's where the draft is taking place, Lambeau Field. All right, so you know I'm a big Panthers fan, and so if you're a big Panthers fan like myself, you want to stay tuned into the NFL Draft Special with Locked On Sports tonight.
That's tonight.
It's tonight. I feel like I've been counting down to this for forever.
It's been weeks. We've been talking about this.
It's finally here.
It's finally here. It's like Christmas morning.
I can't wait. Because we have Nick Carboni, Danielle Stein, giving us the latest with Locked On Sports at 7 p.m. Everything you need to know as far as the draft. I've been looking at the mock drafts.
Yep.
And so I have my pick in my head, Jalen Walker from Georgia. But I'm also seeing reports that the Panthers might trade out of the top 10. They might trade out of the top 10.
Who knows what they're going to do?
I don't know. I don't know what Dan Morgan has up his sleeve, what Dave Canales has up his sleeve, but it's they really have to address defense.
Yep.
That's very important. So we'll see. The draft is fun.
What do you want as a Panthers fan? What do you want?
I would like Jalen Walker.
Okay.
I would like defensive line, edge rusher, linebacker. I'm not a big fan of trading out, but I get it. You know, you trade out of the top 10 picks to get more compensation, more picks. And Panthers have not really done a great job in the later to, like, in the third to fifth, sixth round picks. Like, they have not really sort of nailed those picks. And those are your foundational picks in your franchise. Like, the first, second round picks, those are the easy, I don't want to call them easy, but those are okay, these are the guys high on my draft board. When you get to the third, fourth, fifth, even sixth round, those are the foundational pieces to your draft. So Panthers haven't really nailed those picks in several years now. So I get it. You trade back, you get more picks, or you get a good player who's already, in the league, and, you beef up, your depth chart. I get it. So
it's a gamble.
It's a gamble.
Yeah.
So you don't know. Here's the thing about the draft. You don't know if any of these guys are going to work out.
Right.
You don't.
No.
You hope.
You hope. You see him in college, and you hope.
In college. So you hope you get the right pick. So I'm hoping the Panthers, they do well in the draft. They did pretty well last year. So they're building. I have faith in Dan Morgan. So, hey. But what do I know?
You know who knows a little bit more?
Carboni.
These two.
Carboni and Danielle Stein. They know more. Again, tune into the NFL Draft Special with Locked On tonight. I was about to say Thursday, which is tonight. Tonight, 7 p.m. on WCNC Plus exclusively. And before then, Nick Carboni has just been doing and Danielle Stein have been doing a ton of interviews ahead of the draft. Nick Carboni actually spoke with Connor Rogers with NBC Sports yesterday, and that played during the special last night. I think it was at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock here on WCNC Plus. Again, I go to bed early, so
yeah.
My perception of time is just off.
Completely off.
Yeah.
Completely off.
But it ran on WCNC Plus, and he's been on a lot of exclusive interviews leading up to the draft. We want to play that interview with Connor Rogers from NBC Sports. Let's listen in.
From NBC Sports. He's got like 5 other jobs, but he's focused on the draft for us tonight. Connor Rogers. Connor, you ranked 320 draft prospects, making great use of Excel spreadsheets, I'm sure. That's a career high for you.
It's a career high. I'm feeling good about it. Obviously, everybody watching this can really see that I have quite the life. I've ranked 320 college players for the NFL draft, but no, I'm feeling really good about it. The draft is so fun. It's cool that everybody cares so much about beyond round 1 these days, where everybody wants to know about every single pick their team makes. So that's the point, right? And here we are ready to roll.
All right, well, you can see that. I'll retweet it at the top of my timeline, and Connor's on X at Connor J. Rogers. So, Connor, let's start with the obvious. You have Jalen Walker ranked 19th on your big board, I believe. A lot of mocks have him going 8th to the Panthers. What are your thoughts on him as a prospect and a top 10 pick?
He's such an interesting player because he played a lot of off-ball linebacker, of course, at college for Georgia. And when you look at his reps when he gets the ability to rush the passer, whether it's standing up or with his hand in the dirt, he flashes a lot there because he plays with good speed. He plays with good violence. He has good closing speed that, when he can kind of dip his shoulder to angle around the corner, he can finish plays. He doesn't have length, typical length and size of an edge passer. That's probably why he was primarily playing off the ball for Georgia. But obviously, this is somebody that could be the leader of the middle of your defense. He's got sideline to sideline range. He has no fear of taking on blockers. He's only getting better. He's a younger prospect as well. I think for me, while I don't have him in my top 10, but he could very well be a top 10 pick. And you said it. You see this guy picked at 8 in mock drafts of the Panthers over and over and over again. I think they're all over defense. I think they'd love a face or a leader in the middle of that defense, especially with his high character. For me, it's these hybrid guys are a little tricky sometimes. You have to ask yourself, are they really good at multiple things, but then it's going to be a tough adjustment period to the NFL where if he doesn't have the size and length of an edge rusher, is he only going to be kind of a blitzer? And his off-ball linebacker instincts have not caught up to what you would consider a first-round prospect yet. He's kind of more of a see ball, get ball guy, but his first step isn't always the right one, where he's still learning the flow of the run and still learning how to kind of read things pre-snap. And that's understandable for a younger player. So I think for me, it's a good fit for the Panthers. I think it's a need for the Panthers. There's a couple other directions I would probably go over him in terms of instant impact, but they're clearly thinking long term if they made that selection.
Yeah, GM Dan Morgan told us last week they have a plan for him if they pick him, and that is outside linebacker. Is that the right plan given the off-ball kind of things he needs to catch up with?
I really like that because it puts him in a comfort zone right away. And he's going to be playing in a pretty good front. The Panthers spent money on their defensive line this offseason. They have Jadeveon Clowney there, getting the return of Derek Brown, who obviously Derek Brown would give him a little bit more space to work with. So I like that he'd be going into a situation that the talent level has improved. And maybe it simplifies things for him. Once it goes back to the violence I talked about that he plays with, his ability on the edge, maybe he could set a hard edge against the run rather than having to flow to different gaps and having to read so many things. And you have have those second level climbers all over you that are bigger than you. Where on the edge, it might just be, hey, it's me versus you, and I'm going to play with more speed and convert speed to power. And then his rush ability, once again, to kind of dip around the corner. He plays with strong hands. He'll develop more moves as he gets more time, because that's a more simplified role for him. So if the Panthers went that direction, I'd feel better about the transition for the player.
All right, so we'll talk about the Panthers possibly trading back, which they've been signaling that may be what they want to do. But say the two guys that would basically necessitate a pick at 8 were there. Jalen Walker and Mason Graham's the other one I'm thinking of. Maybe there's more. Who do you think they would go with in that situation? Because as much work as they did up front on defense and free agency, Mason Graham might be a hard guy to pass up, right?
That would be my thought process. He's the one guy where if he really does fall to them at 8, and there's a lot of signs this week, and a lot of people think he will, it feels like it could alter what they thought they were doing the whole time, where it's, hey, we feel like Jalen Walker's going to be here. We feel good about the pick. We have a plan for him. Let's make the pick. And then it kind of goes into a situation where, well, we got additions on the defensive line in free agency, but this is somebody that could be a cornerstone for us for a really, really long time. He'll play with the power and the motor that we really like. He makes us a tougher football team up front. And now we feel like the strength of our team, we're making a strength a strength. We feel good about our interior, but now it's going to be a really good looking group. And the fact is, I think Mason Graham is a top 5 to 6 player in this draft, where Jalen Walker is a little bit more of a projection right outside my top 15. And I can see the Panthers looking at it that way too, where they go, we know exactly what we're getting with Graham, his presence. You watch how he could take over games, and he took over games that were really important games. And that means a lot as a prospect, whether it was the college football playoff in 2023, where they won the national title, and you look at his tape against Alabama, or you look at 2024 when they upset Ohio State. Him and Kenneth Grant, his teammate on the defensive line, they dominated that game, and they didn't allow Ohio State to do anything against them. So Mason Graham kind of rising to the occasion over and over again is something to me that will have teams be sold on what he's going to do as a pro.
And that was Connor Rogers, part 1 of that interview. We'll have part 2 a little later in the show, but that was part 1 of Nick Carboni's interview with Connor Rogers with NBC Sports. I learned a little bit about, maybe I might be changing my feeling on Jalen Walker. I still like him a lot. He's a local kid, so I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I like him. I don't know. See, this is why.
You're going attached.
Yeah, this is why I can't get too attached to these fans. I can't. All right, so as we mentioned before, the NFL draft is happening in Green Bay, Lambeau Field, the iconic Lambeau Field. You talk about, so the NFL draft, for those who may not pay attention or don't realize, the NFL draft it's a big deal. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, off-season NFL event of the year. Because you think about it, so the Super Bowl, playoff games, regular season games, they can be pricey.
Yes.
And it can be
kind
hard.
of calculated. They kind of have to be.
And it can be hard to get access to. And the NFL draft gives people a chance to come out. Even though there's nothing really happening in real time. I mean, your team is making a pick, and they are changing, hopefully, the trajectory of your franchise, but you're not really, there's no score, there's no box score at all, but it's still a cool moment when it comes to the NFL. When it comes to
you see dreams come true. Like it's like you see, these you see these kids, these huge 6 foot, 7 foot giants that are 300 pounds worth, crying in their mom's arms. Like it's so like
it is a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
You're sharing with the world your dreams and having your dreams come true. So it's a cool moment for fans, for the players, obviously, for their families.
Speaking of Lambeau, though, there's a live shot.
That's a live shot of the brisk high today, 58. That's what I looked up. High 58, not even 60 degrees. So it's probably cooler there now. As Carlene mentioned, it's beanie weather in Lambeau Field.
Beanies.
So the cool part about this, and what I just learned this morning, Lowe's created a special space for the prospects and their families at this year's NFL draft event. Our weekend sports anchor, Danielle Stein, spoke to the folks at Lowe's behind the project. Here's their full interview.
So I heard that you were tagged with the task of designing the setting for these draftees come Thursday night. It's a big setting that will be on TV a lot. It's a place where emotions will be high. Families will have some of the best memories. What goes into designing something like this?
First, we start off with our theme, which we partnered with the NFL on our theme, and our theme this year was the luxury cigar lounge. So we wanted to create a space using this, this refined rustic aesthetic. But as to your point, we also wanted to make sure that it was inviting and elevated at the same time. So just considering all the pieces, the furniture, making sure that people are comfortable, because as you know, this is a milestone event in their lives, and nerves are at all-time highs. So we want to just make sure that the draftees are comfortable in the green room space.
What went into the physical design? Like, walk me through the process. Once you had the theme, how did you kind of make the decisions? What have you guys done boots on the ground in Green Bay to make this room come together the way it has?
So we started out with a theme. We worked to select a product for the space. So we utilize product that's available on Lowe's.com. So all the product that you see in the green room is available at Lowe's.com/NFL draft. And then we collaborated with the NFL to get groups of people to come in and decorate the space for us and prep for tomorrow night, which is going to be an amazing event. And we're going to see a lot of people here on these nice pieces of furniture from Lowe's.com.
For Lowe's to be a Charlotte-based, organization and company, and to have its stamp on the NFL draft, to be in Green Bay, what does that kind of mean to see Lowe's part of such a big stage like this?
I mean, at Lowe's, we love being a part of different communities all around the country, the communities we serve. So it's not, Charlotte is our hometown, of course, and you see the badge here with the home team. Lowe's we have our home team program, but no matter what community we're in, we're always honored to be a part and get involved in the communities. So as a part of that, just mentioning that this furniture here will be donated to the Habitat Humanity of Greater Green Bay, and it'll be donated to the Homestead community locally. So we're always overjoyed to be a part of the communities that we serve, and it's just like home,
That's great. Is there anything else you guys want to add or share about the partnership between Lowe's and the NFL or the draft room itself?
It's incredibly exciting for the NFL to be partnering with, working with our long-term partner Lowe's. They've been an absolute pleasure to collaborate with. And as Clayvon said, we elevated this experience in the green room space. It's such a memorable thing for these prospects and their families. And we're so glad that they get to experience this moment of solace before they go on stage and walk into this next chapter of their life. So we're really proud of the work that was done here.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Best of luck tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of good screen time of the room, and looking forward to seeing the design on quite arguably one of the biggest stages in sports TV. So it should be pretty cool.
Yep, and if you're inspired by the space, it's a great time to go to Lowe's and get these pieces to get prepared for football season. So as the draftees walk across the stage, you can draft these products from Lowe's.com for your space and decorate your space to have the same aesthetic. So
I feel like a couch is so important for football watching, because you obviously want to be comfortable to be sat for quite a few hours, but if something exciting happens, you're going to have to stand up. You got to be up and ready. So finding that perfect couch has got to be pretty good.
The couch is important. We also have these Allen and Roth Stainmaster area rugs. So if you think about having people over for drinks or snacks, and they have a 3-year stain resistance warranty on them. So that's also, when you think about the longevity of the space and being able to enjoy that space for years to come, we've decorated it down to the area rug. So utilizing our partnership with Allen Roth and Stainmaster. So
very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you jumping on this call.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Have a great
Awesome.
day.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Really cool interview there with Danielle and the folks there with Lowe's, creating that special space for the families there as they wait to hear their name picked for the NFL draft. I can't even imagine what those families are feeling right now, and then up to the moment when they hear their family member, that player, his name called. That's one of my favorite parts about the draft.
Also, we got to talk about the outfits too.
Yeah. You remember the year when Ezekiel Elliott had like a cutoff type situation?
Yeah,
he had like a suit, and it was, you could see like his midsection. because in college, how he would wear his
Yep.
jersey, you could see his midsection.
Yep.
So I am not that bold. Look,
You
summer.
could be that bold.
Look, summer is not here yet. I'm still working to get the abs. I ran this morning, so hopefully, maybe by this summer
maybe
I'll wear.
by summertime.
I can't wear it on the show though.
No, I'm sorry. You won't see it here on Live Impact News.
Not at all,
No.
not at all. But the suits, the outfits, those are always pretty cool. Yeah, man, it's going to be a special night. You don't want to miss our NFL Draft Special with Locked On Sports Thursday. Tonight. Yes, tonight. April 24th. Tonight. 7 p.m. Tonight. Only on WCNC Plus. You don't want to miss it. I can't wait to watch it. I will be tuned in. All right, so we want to switch gears now. We want to take you to the Boston area, where testimony is set to continue this morning in Karen Read's second murder trial. Right now, there's a firefighter who began testifying late Wednesday. He has returned to the stand, a firefighter paramedic. Just to recap, just a little bit, Karen Read is accused of hitting John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend, with her SUV back in 2022, and is accused of leaving him to die alone in the snow outside of a house party in Cannes. Again, we want to take you to that trial that's happening right now. Let's listen in.
Your answer was yes.
You're talking about Lee. I'm just trying to make sure we're talking about the same instance. Are we talking about when we left the hospital, or when we left Fairview Road?
When you were at Fairview Road, leaving Fairview Road. We're talking about the same subject of what Ms. Reed supposedly told you or asked you. Okay, Mr. Brennan went into that with you.
So on the way to, you're talking on the way to the hospital in terms of left. When we left.
Well, before you left. He meant before you left the scene.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to clarify.
Again, the same conversation, Mr. Whitley. I'm not trying to trick you.
Mr. Yannetti, he just asked for a point of reference. It's clear. Now go.
Understood. And Mr. Brennan said, can you share with the jury what those conversations were about? And your answer was, so we were talking, she was upset. She kept asking if there was any chance her husband could be alive, even sitting outside in the snow without any coat for many hours. Do you recall that answer that you gave yesterday on direct examination?
Yes.
And that was the first time that you mentioned that she said, supposedly, or asked supposedly, about him sitting outside in the snow, correct?
I was just using phrases generally speaking. I wasn't at that point I was paraphrasing. I was not speaking verbatim to what she said.
Let's try that again. That was the first time that you mentioned that she claimed or asked that he was sitting outside, correct?
It could have been sitting, laying, being.
Let's try it a third time.
So just ask the question, not let's try it.
Sure.
Let's try it.
Was that the first time that you testified under oath that Ms. Reed said or asked about him sitting outside?
Are you asking me to clarify whether she used the word sitting?
I'm not asking you to clarify anything. I'm asking you whether that was the first time yesterday during direct examination that you mentioned that she asked about him sitting outside.
I'm sorry. I am very confused because I'm trying to figure out if he was being outside, sitting outside.
I'm asking you about Ms. Reed's statements, sir. That's all I've been asking you about. Her statements to you and your testimony about her statements to you. Was yesterday on direct examination the first time that you testified under oath that Ms. Reed mentions the words sitting outside?
I don't know.
All right.
I'm just using. She might have said laying outside, being outside, outside.
Okay. So when you testified yesterday before this jury,
yes,
that she mentioned the words sitting outside, you're now saying that that might not have been accurate, correct?
It could have been a different word.
Okay. But you didn't say it could have been a different word yesterday. You just left it as sitting outside, correct?
Yeah, that's what I said, sitting.
All right. So now we get from, the grand jury with many hours mentioned to questions about many hours to sitting outside to let's talk about what you said on cross-examination.
I object.
Okay, the objection sustained.
Sure. On cross-examination, your words were, she said he had been out in the snow without a jacket on for many hours, correct?
She had asked if he had been outside, if there was any chance he could be alive, even though he was outside without a jacket for many hours.
So it always was a question, correct?
It was a question.
She never said what you said on cross-examination yesterday, which was she said that he had been out in the snow without a jacket on for many hours. That was not a declarative statement by Ms. Reed, correct?
Objection. I'll allow that. Was that a declarative statement by Ms. Reed?
She asked if he could be alive without a jacket in the snow for many hours.
So again, it was a question, sir.
She asked me, and we were just trying to give her hope in terms of telling stories of hypothermic patients that could survive outside in the snow.
Okay, is there any redirect?
Briefly.
Okay.
When you were called to the grand jury, was the testimony as in-depth and as long as it is in front of this jury?
No, not even close.
When you're recounting your memories of what happened, do you memorize word for word what you've said in the past?
Objection.
As to that form, it's sustained.
When you're recounting the past, do you record your statements personally?
Objection.
I'm going to let that one. Do you record your statements?
No.
Next question.
When you testified in the grand jury, page 90, line 15, and you said, the defendant told you, I'm upset if he dies, I want to die. And then you later testify last year, and you said, if my husband dies, I want to die. Do you notice the little differences between those phrases?
I do.
Is that you making up words?
No.
Is that you trying to help a case?
Objection.
As to form, that's sustained.
Are you inventing facts?
No.
Sir, when you were recounting what happened that day, are you using your best memory?
Objection.
Sustained.
When you were asked by the defendant about how long, or someone out in the snow without a jacket for many hours, do you remember that conversation with her?
I do.
Where were you during that conversation?
We were in the back of the ambulance.
Do you remember it distinctly?
I remember it distinctly. She was looking at me.
When you tried to give her hope and comfort, and you told her stories about other situations where people, maybe children, have fallen through the ice and had hypothermia, did you have that conversation with her in trying to comfort her?
I did.
Do you remember that conversation?
I do.
Did you necessarily share those conversations with the grand jury?
I don't recall if I did or I didn't.
Did you ever write that in your report?
No.
Is it something you typically put everything in your report?
No, we do not write. Generally, we only write patient complaint, what happened, and what they did, not their opinions or anything like that to what's going on.
Do you have any interest in the outcome of this case?
I do not.
How long have you been a firefighter for?
Since March of 2006, and an EMT since November of 2002.
Over 20 years.
Correct.
You said that you live near Kerry Roberts?
I do.
You've been to a block party for the kids where you've brought the fire engine down?
I do.
Objection.
I'm going to allow it.
When you're at that block party, do you ever step out and have secret meetings with Kerry Roberts trying to corroborate some conspiracy on their behalf?
No.
I'm going to allow that.
No.
Put your career on the line?
Objection.
Sustained.
No further questions.
Any follow-up, Mr. Yannetti?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Firefighter Whitley, you are all set, sir.
Like to play clip 5, Your Honor?
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think it looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car.
All right, who's your next witness, Mr. Brennan?
Next witness is Jean DeMoulis.
Okay.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Surterin. Right now, you're watching live as day 3 of Karen Read's retrial underway. Testimony continuing this morning. Again, this is Karen Read's second murder trial with a firefighter who you just saw on the stand testifying. He was on the stand late Wednesday, returned this morning. In the case, you're not familiar with this case. This is a case that has made national headlines, but just to catch you up, Read is accused of hitting John O'Keefe, her Boston police officer boyfriend, with her SUV back in 2022 and leaving him to die alone in the snow outside of a house party in Canton, Massachusetts. She is charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating a vehicle under the influence and leaving the scene. So that's what's happening right now live right there. That's a shot of the courtroom. All right. In the top right, we're counting down to the NFL draft. It will happen there in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Lambeau Field. We have a draft special tonight, NFL draft special with Locked On Sports. Tonight at 7 p.m. only on WCNC Plus. You don't want to miss it. Who will the Panthers pick at 8? Will they pick there at 8 or will they trade back? You have to watch and find out. That's the beauty of the draft. And down below, you might have a hard time making it out, but that's uptown. That's supposed to be uptown, but it's foggy conditions. We'll get an update on the weather and the forecast with meteorologist Chris Mulcahy a little bit later. But for now, we want to take you back to day 3 of Karen Read's retrial, which is underway. Another witness is just made her way to the stand. Let's listen in.
In Canton, yes.
Thank you. How long have you been the general manager at C.F. McCarthy's in Canton for?
For 6 years.
Can you briefly describe for the jury what C.F. McCarthy's is?
It is a restaurant and bar.
At C.F. McCarthy's, is there a video surveillance system inside?
Yes.
Who owns that video surveillance system?
C.F. McCarthy's.
Are you familiar with the video system?
Yes.
Have you ever looked at it before?
Yes.
Do you employ people to help the establishment with the video system?
No.
You maintain it on your own?
Yes.
At some point, were you visited by somebody from the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes.
Were you asked whether or not they could view some of your video surveillance?
Yes.
Do you remember the date? Not the date they came to visit you, the date that they were looking for.
I believe it was January 28th, 27th, 28th of 2022.
Around that time?
Yes.
Did you allow access to the video system?
Yes.
Did you oversee that access to the video system?
Yes.
Was it a state police officer?
It was two state police detectives.
Do you remember their names?
I remember one of the detectives' names. I do not remember the other detective.
The one you remember, could you share the name?
It was Detective Buchnick, Yuri.
Detective Yuri Buchnick.
Yes.
At some point, was he allowed to download information from the surveillance system?
Yes.
Did you watch him do that?
Yes, I did.
At some point, have you been able to briefly look at some of that download?
Yes.
And does it appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of the surveillance or the area of your bar?
Yes.
Move to introduce
Okay, there's no objection, Mr. Yannetti?
There is no objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 18, so marked.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I play just a small portion?
Sure.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'm going to show you just some random shots from this video, but I want to know if you recognize it. Is this the inside of C.F. McCarthy's?
Yes.
I'm not asking if you have any particular knowledge or information about that night. I just want to know if is this a fair and accurate depiction of what C.F. McCarthy's looks like?
Yes.
Has there been any substantive, significant changes to the inside of that establishment since this video was taken?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay.
I have no questions.
All right, Mr. Lewis, you're all set.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, set, counsel.
Your next witness, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you. Bridget Meehan.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now and hearing to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Good morning. Good morning.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name is Bridget Meehan.
Where do you work?
I work at the Waterfall Bar and Grill in Canton.
The name maybe tells us a little bit about it, but could you just share a couple lines of what the Waterfall Bar and Grill is?
It's a small family-owned business in Canton. It's in a mixed condo complex.
Are you involved in the ownership of it?
Yes.
How long have you been involved with the Waterfall Bar and Grill?
We've been there approximately 10 years.
Do you help run the establishment?
Yes, I do.
And you were running the establishment back on January 28, 2022? Yes. At some point, were you asked or visited to see if your establishment had video surveillance of the inside?
I was.
Does your establishment have video surveillance of the inside?
It does.
Do you have a camera and a server?
Do I have? Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you provide video surveillance to the Massachusetts State Police from that night, January 28, 2022?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'd like to move this in as an exhibit, please.
Okay. Mr. Yannetti?
No objection.
Thank you.
Exhibit 22.
With the court's permission?
Yes.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'm going to show you just a brief clip. Okay, stop, please. Do you see that video?
I do.
Does that depict the inside of McCarthy's?
No.
I'm sorry, the Waterfall?
Yes.
I'm trying to switch establishments on you. Back on January 28, 2022, does that look the way it looked then?
Yes.
Has there been any significant changes inside since then?
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Meehan, you
Thank you.
And I'll just that one down.
Is my camera on there?
All right, your next witness, Mr. Brennan.
Commonwealth calls Mike Camerano.
Hold on, can I follow me, please? So, just step on up. Face the front, raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now and hearing to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Good to see you.
Good morning.
May I?
Please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, good morning. My name is Michael Camerano.
Mr. Camerano, can I ask how old you are? I'm sorry.
Spell your last name.
Camerano.
And so if you could either move the microphone down a little bit or speak up, or maybe a combination of both, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could I ask you how old you are?
48,
Where do you live?
Canton, Mass.
How long have you lived in Canton for?
Me and my wife have lived there for 20 years. Me and my wife have lived there for 20 years. We have 2 children.
How old are your children, sir?
My daughter is 17. My son is 14.
Did you know John O'Keefe?
Yes.
How did you know him?
I met John for the first time at his sister's they had a benefit for his sister in 2013. I met John there for the first time. And then years later, our kids got involved with sports together, and they became very close. As they became close, I became very close with John and his family.
Was your daughter close with John's niece?
Yes.
Was your son close with?
Yes.
Did you spend a lot of time together through sports and socially?
Yes, we did.
I want to take you forward to January 28th of 2022.
Okay.
Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Had you, without any discussion of what might have been said, did you have any discussions with John that day?
Yes.
Did you have a plan?
Yes, we were communicating.
At some point, did you decide that you were going to spend some time or go meet John?
Yes. That Friday, my daughter and his daughter, they got acceptance letters to school. So we wanted to get them together so they could enjoy the time together. And, just, go over like how it would be so much fun, something new and different. Yeah, so we were going to meet up after I got out of work.
Was your daughter planning to go to a new school?
Yes.
Where?
Bishop Fan.
And how about his niece?
Same.
They both got accepted to
They
the
both
same
got
school?
accepted to the same school.
Was it a celebratory mood?
Yes.
Did you have a plan to bring the children together so they could celebrate?
Yes, we did.
And then separately you were going to meet John and celebrate?
Correct.
Where did you drop your daughter off?
I dropped my daughter off at John. I went into John's. I was at the house with John and the girls, and we had a little celebration. Talked about how nice it's going to be, fun, change, different, meet new people.
And you celebrated at John's house before you went out?
Correct.
After the celebration with your children, did you and John leave?
Yes.
During that celebration, was there anybody there other than you, John, and your 2 daughters?
No. No. Karen was not there.
Was there anybody else there?
No, just the 2 girls, myself and John.
What was the weather like that night?
It was cold. It was not snowing yet.
Was there an expectation? For
Yes,
the
there was an
next morning?
expectation. Yes.
And what was that?
That there was going to be a big snowstorm coming in.
A storm was coming.
Yes.
When you left, did you leave in a separate car than John, or did you leave together?
No, we left together. John got in my car, and we were leaving. We're going to leave.
Where were the girls?
The girls were in the house, stayed in the house.
They were staying at John's house?
Yes, correct.
Where did you go?
We went to C.F. McCarthy's.
When you got there, did you know anybody who was there other than you and John?
At that time, no.
Did you spend time at C.F. McCarthy's?
Yes.
Were you drinking?
Yes.
Was John drinking?
Yes.
Alcohol?
Yes.
How long were you there for?
A couple hours.
While you were there, did anybody come and meet you that you knew?
Yes.
Who?
A friend, and then Karen came in.
The friend?
Yes.
What was the friend's name?
Kurt.
And then How long after you first got there was it that the defendant arrived?
I would like to say within an hour, so not 100% sure.
You said back home it was a celebratory mood. Was it still a celebratory mood at McCarthy's?
Yes.
When the defendant arrived, did she spend time with you and John?
I've talked briefly to her, and her and John were mostly talking.
Okay. You didn't see any issues?
No.
Okay. It was a normal night?
Seemed to be, yes.
As far as you could see?
Yes.
And you saw John drinking?
Yes.
Did you see the defendant drinking?
I saw her with a glass, yes.
Okay. Did you leave at the same time that John left?
No, I did not.
When you left, was John still at the establishment?
Yes.
When you left, was the defendant still with him?
Yes.
Why did you leave?
I left because I got a phone call. My son was playing hockey in the backyard, and he got hit with a stick and lost his tooth.
Oh. Where did you go?
I went to my son's friend's house.
Do you know about what time that was when you went to see your son?
I would like to say 9:30, in between 9:30 and 10.
You didn't go back to McCarthy's that night, did you?
No, I did not.
After you helped your son, where did you go next?
I went to pick up my daughter, Madeline.
Did you go
at John's house?
Did you go in John's house?
No, I did not.
When you got to John's house, did your daughter come out?
No. We went to the side door and rang the doorbell.
And then what happened?
And then my daughter came to the door.
Where'd you go?
From there, we left and went home.
When you went home, had the weather changed at all?
It was cool. It might have been flurrying at that time.
No accumulation?
No.
You got home?
Yes.
Did you do anything significant when you got home?
Put the kids to bed, my son, and no, I went to bed.
What's the next thing you remember happening?
Waking up to, I missed some phone calls.
Who were the missed phone calls from?
From my wife and Karen.
What did you do?
I called my wife.
After speaking to your wife, what did you do?
I got in my car and drove to John's house.
About what time was this?
In between maybe 5 and 6 a.m.
What was your mood at that point?
I was panicked.
Why did you go to John's house?
Because I went to get Kaylee.
Did you know if she was alone?
Yes.
How long did it take you to get to John's house?
Maybe 5-7 minutes.
When you get to John's house, what do you see?
I pull in the driveway. I see that the garage door is open. I go in through the garage door. I don't know if Kaylee was standing there, if the door, she came out the door, and I asked her, if she needed anything, she could get in my car and stay warm.
When you first saw Kaylee, what did she look like?
She looked distraught.
Did you try to help her?
Well, I think I just said everything will be okay.
Did she come with you?
Yes.
Where are you going?
To my house.
So what happens?
So we go to my house, and my daughter's up, and the two girls they were hanging downstairs, just hanging out, just being kids. And then, I don't know, a couple hours later, maybe, Paul called me and asked me to bring Kaylee home.
Did you know anything at that point?
I did, yes.
You did or didn't?
At that point, I did when Paul had told me.
So what do you do?
asked Madeline and Kaylee if I'd say, Madeline, we come for the ride. I don't say anything to Kaylee, and we get in the car, and I start heading back to John's house.
And you didn't say anything to Kaylee?
No, I didn't. I just said everything will be all right. She had a feeling.
Why do you say that?
She didn't want to go home.
So what happens next?
So I pull in the driveway, and I remember Paul and Papa standing. I think they were standing at the side door, and we just embraced.
Did you stay?
No, not long. No.
Did you go back?
I was to the house. I went back to my house.
Did you go back to John's house?
I did the next day. Yes, I was there.
When you went back, were there people there?
Yes.
Many?
There was people coming and going.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Camerano.
Good morning.
This is quite painful for you to remember the events of January 28th, is it not?
Yes.
You were very close with your friend John O'Keefe, correct?
I was close with him, yes.
And you actually met Karen Reed through John, correct?
Correct.
After meeting Karen, you spent a good amount of time with both Karen and John, correct?
Correct.
As of January 28th of 2022, you had known Karen for maybe about a year or so?
Sounds correct.
And you'd see them especially on Fridays, correct?
Correct.
That would be sort of the day that you get together with both of them often?
Yes.
And of course, your children spent a lot of time with John and Karen, right?
Correct.
You entrusted both Karen and John with your kids.
Yes.
Sometimes your kids would even go on vacation with Karen and John, right?
They did go to the Cape, yes.
Sometimes you'd see Karen without John at your house or on a ball field.
Correct.
And your daughter in particular would sometimes spend time with just Karen without John, correct?
Correct.
Your daughter would sometimes go over to Karen's house in Mansfield when she lived there, correct?
Correct.
And obviously when your daughter would go to Karen's house in Mansfield, Karen would be the one in charge of caring for her, correct?
Correct.
And you were fine with that because you liked and you trusted Karen, right?
Correct.
And in your view, Karen was very good with kids, right?
Correct.
But you also had the opportunity to see Karen and John together, right?
Yes.
You saw how they interacted with each other over that year period that you knew Karen?
Yes.
You saw how they got along?
Yes.
And you never observed any arguments or bickering, correct?
I mean, they argued and bickered.
You had previously testified that you wouldn't even call it arguing, you'd just call it banter, right?
Yes, I mean, he would, he would get upset or like over if she bought expensive things for the kids.
Right.
Yes.
We will get to that. That would be the one thing that John would complain about, Karen buying like very nice things for his niece and nephew, right?
Correct.
Or he'd complain if Karen was taking his niece and other girls to get their nails done, like extravagances like that.
Correct.
And one specific memory you have is when Karen bought his niece a very expensive sweater, right?
Correct.
And you recall John telling you that he wished that she hadn't done that because he considered that to be spoiling the girl, correct?
Yes.
But it was very clear to you from your observations that Karen really, really liked John. I'm sorry, John really, really liked Karen, right?
Sustained.
He certainly never told you or even suggested he was thinking about or planning to break up with Karen, right?
No.
Okay, so with regard to that Friday night, January 28th, sir, the plan was for you and John to go to McCarthy's to have some drinks because there was a storm coming in, correct? And because of the celebration of the girls getting into Bishop Fen?
Well, yeah, we were going out. It wasn't a continuation of the celebration of the girls. We were going out to have a few beers as guys.
Okay. And when you were leaving the house, John asked you to move your car, right?
Correct.
Where was your car when John asked you to move it that night?
Actually, I backed up my car. We were leaving the driveway, and John asked me to stop so he could move his car.
I see. And he wanted you to move your car because of the storm coming in, and he wanted Karen to be able to pull her car into the garage, right?
Correct.
And that was really thoughtful of him, wasn't it?
Yes, extremely.
And it showed you that he was being chivalrous toward Karen that night, right?
Yes.
He didn't want Karen to be out in the heavy snow later when she returned to his house during the expected blizzard, right?
Sustained.
You took from that there was an expectation that Karen would be coming back to his house, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You had no inkling that day that anything was wrong between Karen and John, correct?
No.
Everything seemed fine between the two of them, right?
Yes, he did mention though that night that he didn't understand why Karen had a plumber go to the house.
Because he had somebody that could have done that work instead of paying for the plumber, right?
Well, yes.
Okay. But in any case, the plan was for Karen to meet up with the two of you, right?
Yes.
And she did show up to McCarthy's at about 8:30 p.m. or so?
Yes, I guess, if that's the time.
And you saw an affection...
I'm sorry, what was the answer that you said?
If that was the time, I'm not sure about the timeline.
Okay. It was sometime after you'd gotten there. Right.
Correct.
But you do remember when Karen arrived, there was an affectionate greeting between John and Karen, right?
Yes.
You saw them kiss, right?
Yes.
You saw John put his arm around Karen?
Correct.
And you saw that Karen sort of nestled into his embrace?
Correct.
And when she did that, that's when he kissed her, correct?
Yes.
And they seemed happy to see each other, did they not?
They did.
That night they were affectionate?
Yes.
Laughing?
Yes.
Happy?
Yes.
Like a normal couple?
Yes.
No arguments?
No.
You witnessed no bickering, no tension, correct?
No.
And during the month before John's passing, that January of 2022, you observed their relationship in your presence to be normal, caring, and affectionate, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
You were asked a number of questions about the relationship between John and Karen that night. Do you know what was going on behind closed doors other than what you saw?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No.
Do you know whether or not they texted each other that day?
No, that day, no.
Do you know whether or not there was any arguments that day?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Not to my... No, I don't know if they were... I don't know if they were arguing over the plumber situation.
Do you know if there's any vulgarities that day?
No.
Do you know if there's any vulgarities that night?
No, not to my knowledge.
Do you know whether or not John was trying to end the relationship with Miss Reed?
Objection.
Do you know that, sir?
No.
Next question.
Do you know if there was any jealousy in that relationship?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I mean, I mean, Karen wouldn't let, I mean, they did everything together, a lot of things together, and I thought at times, yeah, you could see, you know, she didn't want other women around John. I don't know, not at that, but.
Thank you.
You follow up? All right, Mr. Camerano, you're all set. So.
Thank you.
I'll see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Right now, you're watching live the day 3 of the Karen Read trial. Underway right now. Witness just left the stand. They're having a sidebar with the judge, the defense, and the prosecution. All right, so we want to come back here home. This is a look, a better look at Uptown, foggy Uptown. Yeah, that's just going to be the day. The start of the day. Well, and look, I'm not a meteorologist, so let's get to a meteorologist. Let's get a check on the forecast. What meteorologist Chris Mulcahy was listening.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm loving this Dallas cam. I'm just kind of geeking out, loving the different levels of clouds. This is literally looking on top of what fog often looks like. Fog will burn off, it'll lift up, and then it just turns into a low-level cloud. And then oftentimes to this camera, as we heat up the atmosphere, this continues to rise up. So if you look way up here, you're like, wow, it's going to be a beautiful day. Clouds are going to win out. I think it's really overall a 90% cloud cover, so that's a mostly cloudy to an overcast day. You're able to see at least the bends here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Couldn't see that about 30 minutes ago. But real quick, I want to talk about tomorrow morning technically. You might have seen on your social media, scrolling the internet, saying, hey, you're going to see a smiling sky tomorrow. And what they're meaning is you have the crescent moon and you have a couple of planets that make up this little smiley face. Well, I went to my favorite site that really just tracks and forecasts what the sky is going to look like. And this is the image that popped out. So this is right around 5:15 to 6 o'clock. As the sun is rising up, or this is all rising up in the atmosphere, we're just barely going to see it, but dusk is going to mess with it. But the problem with this is it's going to be so low on the horizon. So literally what's going to happen as the moon is rising up, if you're standing directly at the horizon and you put your fist out, that's about 10 degrees. So since it's right below the tree lines for a lot of areas, not everyone's going to see this. You might see collectively, so I just don't want everyone to be disappointed that they don't see the sky smiling down at them. Some will see it, but it's going to be the right conditions. But if you want to go out and check it out, I really think about 5:30 to 6:30 is going to be your best chance just above the tree line. We're looking at some rain further off towards the west. Spartanburg, widespread rain, and this is a slow mover. As you've noticed, over the last hour or so, it has barely moved some, and it's a stationary front. And what do stationary fronts do? Well, they sit. They don't like to move. And then once it starts wiggling a little bit, it's called a quasi-stationary front, and that's exactly what's going to happen. It moves just ever so slightly off towards the south, but it's close enough to trigger more showers closer to Asheville over to Morganton. So I think it's our western zone to see the most rain. For the Charlotte area, if you're going to see rain this afternoon, it's going to come in one of two ways. Either one, you have an isolated shower that comes up from the south this time later in the morning, or you're going to see the outflows of some of these rain showers start to work their way in. Better chance in the northern part of Mecklenburg County, but I think the best chance for rain for Charlotte itself is going to be a little bit later on in the evening. But this is going to be another setup that some of you through the entirety of today might not have any rain. Many of us might be sleeping by the time the next round of showers roll in, because as you can see, this little trough moves in, barely moving, keeping rain around into your Friday morning, and then we're almost done, because as we roll forward, spotty showers in the middle of your Friday, seeing heavy rain in certain spots, and then I think the last batch of these widespread showers arrive Saturday morning or early in the morning, and then I think the last chance of at least an isolated shower or thunderstorm is going to be the middle of your Saturday. So don't cancel any plans on Saturday. Just note that you could have a quick downpour that pops up. This is one of those scenarios that we have during the summertime. It's not going to ruin anything. It might just hinder up to an hour, and then after that, things clearing out. And I think that we're pretty much getting the all clear for storms by about 7 o'clock. That is great news if you're going to the Charlotte FC match on Saturday night. We'll be free, still maybe a little bit on the breezy in the backside, and that's going to set us up for a perfect spring day. Mid-70s on Sunday, but if you're more of a summer weather fan, well, we're right back at that as well. Around 90 degrees next Wednesday, so a lot of ups and downs, but at least we'll be heading into a drier pattern, even though many of you haven't seen rain over the last couple of days.
And that's Chris Mulcahy's forecast, a rainy forecast for us. So be on the lookout if you're late starting to work, going out to lunch. Just be mindful that the roads may be slick, but we do need this rain. It has been dry, especially we need this for the mountains and McDowell County specifically as they deal with wildfires. We want to take you back now to the Karen Read trial's third day, and it's underway right now. We've had some witness testimony this morning. Another witness is on the stand. Let's listen in.
Have Detective Garino say his name again, please.
I'm sorry. Again, for the record, could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Nicholas Garino, Guarino.
Thank you.
Sir, you mentioned yesterday that you downloaded a number of phones, or you were involved in the process of downloading a number of phones.
That's correct.
You explained to us that after you have the data analyzed, you can pinpoint certain items that you may want to put in a document.
Yes, so the extractions into a program of our choosing, Cellbrite is the most commonly used, and then we can take call logs or text messages, any information that the investigator is looking for.
When you downloaded Mr. O'Keefe's phone and you downloaded the defendant's phone, did you try to create, or did you create a report through Cellbrite, the software, that would show you all of Mr. O'Keefe's call logs?
Yes, I did.
And when I use the term call logs, what does that mean?
The call logs are the calls that the phone receives.
How do you create a report from Cellbrite? Can you just walk us through that process briefly?
Yep, so in the program you can go in and select the calls from it and export it into different formats, PDF, XML, HTML, or you can create a portable case and extract them all as a portable case that we would see on my computer.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you a document of Mr. O'Keefe's call logs. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is it?
It is the call logs. Just want to make sure it's between John O'Keefe and the defendant from, just want to see the dates, the 28th, January 28th, 2022 to January 29th, 2022.
Would this contain all the phone calls from his phone data, the calls between those two parties that night?
Yes, that's what I created.
Thank you. I'd like to move this as an exhibit, please.
Okay. So,
If I could, Your Honor, just want to compare to make sure we got the same.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Content.
Okay.
No objection.
You captured all of the phone calls between two parties on that last document. Can you also do that with chats?
Yes, that is true.
And did you do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
Did you create a document of chats between the phones of the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe for after midnight, for the evening hours of January 29, 2002?
Yes, I did.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm good. You recognize that document, sir?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell us what that is?
These are the texts from the defendant to John O'Keefe. Yes.
For January 29, 2022?
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry.
And I'd move this as an exhibit, Your Honor.
Okay.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Exhibit 24.
Did you identify or specify chat messages between John O'Keefe and a person named Jen McCabe?
Yes, I did.
Did you create a Cellbrite report?
Yes, I did.
May I approach?
Yes.
Can we have just a brief moment, please?
It's sidebar?
No.
Just the two?
Compare that what we have.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're welcome.
Sir, I'm handing you a document. Do you recognize it?
Yes. This is the text messages between John O'Keefe and Jen McCabe on January 29th, 2022.
And this is through a search of Cellbrite. You match their data, pull up all of their conversations.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. I move to introduce this, please, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
25.
Similarly to the chats, did you do the same with calls between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. McCabe?
Yes, I did.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you a document, sir. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, this is the call log between John O'Keefe and Jen McCabe for, just want to make sure I get all the dates correct, just for January 29th, 2022.
Thank you. I think this is evidence, Your Honor.
Okay.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 26.
Did you do a file extraction and a report on all chats between the phones of John O'Keefe and the defendant for a period of time?
Yes, I did.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Handing you a document. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, this is the text messages between John O'Keefe and the defendant from January 28th to January 29th, 2022.
Thank you. Your Honor, move this into evidence.
Okay. Mr. Alessi?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
27.
Did you have an opportunity to make a report from some of the data from the defendant's phone from January 29, 2022?
What are you referring? I did make some reports from the defendant's phone.
What's a call log report?
Again, the call log report is the calls that the party makes to another phone. So it's going to show everyone they've called or attempted to call.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to take a look at this document. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
And could you tell the jury what it is?
It's the call log from the defendant's phone for January 29th, 2022. For, it looks like everyone's she called.
Introduce this as an exhibit, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
28.
What we just introduced into evidence is the entire call log of calls to anybody and everybody to and from for that period of time.
Yes.
That's fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
And then can you further isolate calls between just two parties?
Yes, you can. You can search by phone number or name.
And did you do that with the defendant's records for some parties?
Yes, I did.
Did you isolate phone calls between the defendant and Ms. McCabe for the evening of January 29, 2022?
Yes, I did.
May I approach?
Yes.
Let's take a look at this document. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's the phone calls from the defendant and Jennifer McCabe, January 29th, 2022.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'd like to move this into evidence, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
29.
Did you isolate calls between the defendant and Ms. Roberts for the night of January 29, 22?
Yes, I did.
Can I see the last exhibit, please? Thank you, sir. I'd ask you to take a look at that document. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Could you share with the jury what it is?
Yep. It's the call logs between the defendant and Carrie Roberts for January 29th, 2022. Yes.
And that's a report you created?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I move this into evidence, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
30.
Did you have an opportunity to isolate and produce a report for all chats between the defendant and Ms. Roberts for the night of January 29, 2022?
Yes, I did.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
So I'm handing you a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And could you share with the jury what that is?
This is text messages between the defendant and Kerry Roberts on January 29th, 2022.
I would move this into evidence, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Jurors, this is the way we have to put evidence in cases in Massachusetts, okay?
Exhibit 31.
Sir, do you have an opportunity to identify a text message or a chat between the defendant and a person by the name of Ingrid on the morning of January 29th, 2022?
Yes, I did.
May I approach?
Yes.
If you look at this document, do you recognize it?
Yes.
Could you tell the jury what that is?
Yes, this is a text conversation between the defendant and looks like a group chat between Ingrid Curtis and Bill Curtis.
Did you make that report?
Yes, this is on January 29, 2022.
Thank you. And move this into evidence, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Exhibit 32.
If this is a good time, if Your Honor would permit.
Okay. Jurors, what we're going to do is we will take our morning recess now, and we'll take 20 minutes to a half an hour, and we'll see you then.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. There was testimony underway in day 3 of Karen Reed's second murder trial there in the Boston area. We'll get back to that in a bit. They're going on a break recess right now, but we want to get back here at home because today is draft day. And guess what? The NFL Draft Special with Locked On Sports this evening, 7 p.m. is tonight. Tune in. Nick Carboni, Daniel Stein, speaking with experts, our Locked On experts, keeping us updated. Will the Panthers pick at 8? Who will they pick at 8? Or could they trade back? Could they trade? Look, I did a little research. So Nick Carboni spoke with Connor Rogers from NBC Sports yesterday, and he mentioned Mason Graham. So Mason Graham, defensive lineman out of Michigan, 6'3", 320. He's a big guy. I like him. I forgot. I didn't think he would fall to the Panthers, but it looks like he could. He could. So I would be happy with that.
Yeah.
Jalen Walker, Mason Graham, Jalen Walker, or if trading back makes sense, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. But look,
as long as it's cool with you, you know.
I know.
They should really pass it by you. You should be in the war room.
Dan Morgan, give me a call. I'm always here, man, for any advice, any draft pick advice.
Honestly, call us.
Call us. Call right now. We got time. We have time. Until then, as we wait for Dan Morgan to call in, we want to get to that interview with Connor Rogers, Nick Carboni's interview with Connor Rogers, NBC Sports. Part 2 of that interview. Played part 1 earlier, but this is part 2 of that interview. Let's listen in.
All right, Dan Morgan gave us the phrase, if we get stuck at 8 last week. I think he tried to reel that back in a little bit, right? Is there a scenario that you could see happening to the Panthers where they truly are in the war room being like, we're kind of stuck here? And what do they do at that point?
Well, I think they, obviously they're one of those two guys are going to be there. So I think they'd roll with that. And now, GMs and teams like to use stuck as a phrase because everybody would love to move out in this draft and get more picks because of the way the draft plateaus. There's just a lot of starting caliber players that are on a similar level almost from pick 25 to 75. I really mean that. And it's sure the player that goes at 28 is probably going to have a better chance of being better than the player that goes at 72. But in terms of the raw ability and the projections, it's not that crazy where you'd rather have more cracks at it. You'd rather have more lotto tickets or swings or whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of why, and it probably was a little bit of a slip of the tongue calling it stuck, because everybody's asking, what are they trading up for? You know, I deal with this being in the New York area a lot with the Jets. You always have to ask yourself, what is the team coming up for? For the Jets and the Panthers, that would have to be a sliding Ashton Genty, and a team just wants to get in front of the Bears to have him. It could happen. It could very well happen, but there's no guarantees on draft night that great of a player slides. So I think that's kind of how they look at that spot, but those teams have contingency plans and players they feel really, really good about in those slots.
If the Panthers do trade back, how far do you think they'll want to go, and what could they get? And let's just stick with their biggest need, that's pass rush and edge.
You know, they're actually in a little bit of a safer place, because I think as long as you stay in front of the Bucks, or maybe you want to stay in front of the Bengals, you know, you look at the Falcons at 15 and the Cardinals at 16. I think they're going to be looking at pass rushers, Mike Green from Marshall, Mykel Williams from Georgia, but you're still going to have an opportunity for a Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College, a Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, maybe one of those guys in Green or Mykel Falls. And you know, we're still talking about Jalen. Like, the Panthers might really like Jalen Walker. I find mixed opinions on him around the league, where it doesn't mean that Jalen Walker is necessarily going in the top 12. So they have a little bit more flexibility with what they need, can have them move back in a 9-ish spot range, and they could feel really good about that. I wouldn't go back to, 23 or beyond that, but I think they could flip back a couple of spots. Like, it's going to be interesting if Denver at 21 to come up for an Ashton Genty level player. Do you feel comfortable going back to pick 20 at Denver slot? I think you'd have to charge a pretty enormous price to feel good about that.
Is there any world in which you would view, if Mykel Williams and Jalen Walker are there, or the Panthers have the ability to draft either one at a certain slot, that they would go Williams over Walker?
I hope not. I just think there's a lot of projection there. I think with Mykel, yeah, he's bigger. He's got better length. There's a lot of things that tell you he should project better to the pros, but the tape doesn't. It's just as simple as that for me, where you're drafting a ball of clay in Mykel, who has a high floor as a run defender. He has no floor as a pass rusher, because we just have not seen enough of a sample size. Where with Jalen Walker, I think at the end of the day, I'm at least getting some kind of presence in the middle of the field at linebacker. And I think there's a lot of upside there as a pass rusher, even though he is undersized. So to me, I mean, for perspective, Jalen still made my top 20. Mykel did not make my top 30. So that's just a jarring gap between the two. For me, I don't think it's like that for the NFL. I think both are going to go in the top 20 picks.
All right. The hot name here in January was Tet McMillan, and we've seen his name just get roller coastered and yo-yoed all over the NFL. Is there any chance the Panthers are going to try and draft Tet McMillan at 8 or otherwise?
I wouldn't be shocked because of the caliber player he is. I think his draft starts with the Jags at 5. I think Jacksonville could feasibly take Tet McMillan and go, we have Brian Thomas Jr., we have Tet McMillan, we have an incredible pairing with size and speed, and we like that duo, and Liam Cohen knows a thing or two about having good wide receivers coming from the Bucs. So there's not a guarantee that he's there, but there's a good shot that he's there. Dallas will probably be on him at 12. Seattle will be on him at 18. I would really like it because it's helping your young quarterback, and it's getting you a ball winner, right? A contested catch threat that makes your quarterback's life so much easier, that go-to target. I think they are all over the defensive players in this draft. If they take Tet McMillan at 8, they've done a really good job hiding that, keeping that card close to the vest and fooling us all.
Yeah, it seems like the more likely scenario is they get one of those guys on day 2, receiver-wise. It looks like there might be some speed living there, but is 57 too long of a wait for the Panthers? That's where they are now, or are they going to need to do some work either trading back in the first round or trading up on Friday night?
That's going to be a little bit of a sweat, right? Because you have a lot of teams right in front of you in that spot that are going to be looking to capitalize off of the depth of wide receiver in this class. Tennessee at 35 comes to mind, New England at 38. I would say the Jets at 42. Dallas once again at 44, depending on what they do at 12. The Falcons at 46. And then I'd say Seattle at 50 and 52 is really, really interesting. So when it comes down to it like that, there's just, and the Packers, of course, at 54, I think are going to be all over the wide receivers. So you might want to make some calls and feel how the board flows. Now, it depends how many wide receivers you like. If you look at it and go, we're comfortable with Jack Best from TCU here, we're comfortable with Kyle Williams from Washington State here, we have a comfort level on 7 different wide receivers on day 2, then you're probably going to be fine. But coaching staffs, they tend to fall in love with players, or they view guys as scheme fits and guys that don't fit. And that might be the situation for the Panthers, where they sit there and go, you know what, let's get a little aggressive here. Let's get our guy and make sure we kind of get a little bit of both. We get a defensive stalwart that we feel really good about in the top 10 of the draft. And then we were aggressive on day 2 to get our young quarterback and our head coach some help at wide receiver. We feel like both these guys are going to be impact players in 2025.
Are tight end and tackle deep enough for the Panthers to kind of double dip with that offensive mindset on day 2 or even day 3?
It's interesting because it feels like this tight end class got a reputation for being really, really deep. And I think it has more role players on that side of things. So, you know, you look at Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren, they're going to go in the top 15. They're really special prospects at tight end. Elijah Arroyo and Mason Taylor probably go in the 2nd round or the top of the 3rd round. More for Arroyo. I think Taylor's locked into the 2nd round. Then you look at it, where does Terrence Ferguson from Oregon go? I think he's going to be a good 3rd round player. After that, you're looking at either blocking tight ends or possession kind of threats, guys that are tight end 2s or tight end 3s. And then tackle has a problem where a lot of the college tackles are going to be guards at the next level, whether it's arm length, whether it's just lack of ability in terms of explosiveness in their pass sets and their lack of ability to mirror on an island, but they have a good anchor where they'll kick inside the guard. So surprisingly, I don't love the depth of both of those position groups. I think it'll be completely adequate on day 2, 2nd and 3rd round, but I think the 4th round, you'll see a big drop off where there's not a big drop off on the 3rd round and the 4th round with the defensive line group, or even edge pass rush to an extent. Safety has some depth. Running back has so much depth. So it's always how the balances go of different draft classes.
All right, you have dived into 320 players. Let's just talk about the 1st round players, because there seems to be such a range of where some of these guys could go. Shedeur Sanders is obviously kind of the poster child for that right now. But I've even seen Walter Nolan all the way from the back of the 1st round, and today I saw him in a mock at number 8. For the Panthers. Why do you think there is such a disparity for so many of these 1st round picks? Is it a sign of a weak class, or just a lot of variables that could happen?
Variables, and one of those is scheme fit, right? So take Walter Nolan, who's the perfect example for you to bring up. Walter Nolan, number 1 recruit in the 2022 class, really figured it out when he transferred to Ole Miss. But he was in a scheme that was very heavy on slanting and being aggressive and gap shooting and allowing him to play aggressive and maximize his athleticism. He is not a master of stacking and shedding, getting off blocks, having a counter move. He's a master of being explosive off the ball and, once again, using that dynamic athleticism to wreck plays. Some schemes will like that because they'll say, hey, like San Francisco at 11 is a team that would like that. Pin your ears back, get off the ball, and go. Where other schemes might be a little bit more, hey, read and react, hold the point of attack. There's more rules, more responsibilities. So that's why you see so many of these players have different ranges, because they might be a really nice projection for one defense, and they might have not really be the seamless fit for another one. And then, you know, you look at Shedeur Sanders, it's a different conversation for him, Jackson Dart, and Jalen Milroe. The problem is, after the Steelers at 21, who I'm not convinced they're going to take a quarterback in that slot, you need somebody to come up and get you. And we love doing this every single NFL draft. Trades here, trades there, all these exciting trades. And then a lot of times you blink and nothing really happened. Now, that could change this year because so many teams at the end of round 1, I think, want to get out of their pick. Minnesota at 24 needs more picks. The Eagles, the Ravens, they'd love to get more picks. It's just what they do, even though they have so many assets. The Chiefs as well, where somebody has to come back into round 1. In my opinion, maybe we get a surprise and they go earlier than this, but I think at the end of round 1, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, and Jackson Dart will be sitting there, and they'll hope a team like the Giants or the Browns comes up and gets them, or even the Saints. But you know what? Those things are very, very difficult to project, and more often than not, they simply don't happen. We go into day 2, and people are still waiting in their green room.
You know, it's kind of nice, Connor, for me here in Charlotte not to bring up quarterbacks until the end of a draft conversation rather than the beginning and all the way throughout. Connor Rogers from NBC Sports. How about this, Connor? 321 prospects or bust next year. Putting it on you now.
I have to. I made a promise to myself. The big board. I kind of screwed this up, right? It was 301 last year. I could have done 302, and we'll see how long I live.
Further.
Job. I went to 320, so now I set the bar too high. But it's always a lot of fun. I look forward to the big board being bigger and better for NBC, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely, Connor. Thank you for being here.
Again, that was Nick Carboni's interview with Connor Rogers with NBC Sports as they sort of preview the draft. The draft now just hours away. We have a special only on WCNC Plus tonight at 7. You don't want to miss it. All right, we're going to shift now to some breaking news that we're following right now, just in. And I want to read what WGRZ from Buffalo is reporting. They're reporting, that's the NBC affiliate there, they're reporting that there have been reports of an officer-involved shooting at the Toronto Pearson International Airport this morning. So here's what they have on their website in their web article. There have been reports of a shooting that involved a police officer at Toronto Pearson International Airport as of 8:20 a.m. this morning. That's according to officials who they cited. Now, Peel Regional Police made a post on X that says there is currently a large police presence and one adult male was shot. The officer involved is uninjured. That's according to police. Ontario's Civilian Police Oversight Agency Special Investigations Unit has been contacted. Travelers are told to expect delays at the terminal there and check with the airport for delay status. And quote, this is from Peel Regional Police, quote, this is an isolated incident and there are no known threats to public safety. We will continue to keep you updated on this story as more information comes in. But again, this is the latest information that I got from WGRZ out in Buffalo. You see there, it is taped off. You see that police presence. Again, off. Very busy. Okay, and Carlene has experience. She worked in the Buffalo market.
I worked in Buffalo for about 3 years. I can tell you, it's a very busy airport.
Okay.
Very, very busy airport.
Wow. So that is definitely going to cause some hiccups on a Thursday morning where people, get their weekend started a little early and they fly out on Thursday. So that is the scene there in Toronto, as again they are investigating a shooting there at Pearson Airport there in Toronto. As soon as we get more information, we'll relay that to you here on the live stream. All right, so we want to shift over now to a press conference that's happening live in Florida. We'll take you there now. This is a live look. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is hosting a news conference alongside his wife, Casey DeSantis, in St. Augustine this morning. It's happening right now. It's for Hope Florida, the foundation founded by the First Lady. And so this news conference comes after Republican lawmakers raised questions over millions of dollars donated to Hope Florida. Again, that press conference happening now. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis alongside his wife, Casey DeSantis. Let's listen in.
Families, stronger communities, and a stronger Florida. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Pastor Earl Glisson, the pastor here at Anchor Faith Church, and I thank the Governor and First Lady for being here. It's such an honor to host this event today because what's going on is really important. There is a term that's used here, Hope Florida. Biblically speaking, hope means a confident expectation. However, most of the time in the world when someone says hope, they say, well, I hope so. And they really aren't confident that it may not come to pass. In fact, hope to most people is like winning the lottery. We may or may not. However, our governor and First Lady, through this administration, has brought the biblical word of hope back, which is confident expectation. That when you call 833, right, get hope, you will have a confident expectation that I am going to be helped, that someone cares for me, and that someone's going to do something. And the brilliance and insight and wisdom that they had to be able to connect with faith-based communities is, it transcends what other states are doing. I want to read you one passage of Scripture before I give you some real experience from us as a church. In Luke chapter 5, verse 7, Jesus Christ, the head of the church, said he told Peter to go out and launch into the deep and let out his net. And he said, look, I've done this all night long. We've caught nothing. He said, just do it. He said, at your word, I'm going to. So he drops down the net and he starts to catch so many fish, he cannot pull them in. So he calls his partners in verse 7. Signaling his partners, the other boat came, and as they brought in all these fish, not only did it fill up his boat, but the boat of his partner, so full that by the time they finally reached the shore, they were almost both about to sink. You know what that tells us? There are so many fish out there that not one boat can handle the supply. And our governor and first lady had the insight to be able to recognize there's another boat out there. There's another partner. And this partnership that they did with the faith-based community was so full of wisdom because, listen, we live in the community. This is where we live. We live here, we connect here, but we also have relationships here. And the next thing the church has is that we are a culture of serving. Because the head of the church says, if you want to be the greatest leader, be the servant of all. And so they tap in to a group of people who are eagerly waiting to be deployed to help others in need. And so what we have done since we became part of the Care Portal process, we began really active in the month of August. There was a little bit of onboard training. But we have, because again, it's based upon counties, and so you understand we've responded to 15 requests. The church met 10 of those particular needs. There were 17 children that we specifically served during this 8-month process. Financially, this church has made an impact of $15,821. Just this church alone. As First Lady said, there are 20,000 faith-based people. Communities out there or different organizations. If you take our number, times it by that 20,000, we get them involved. That's 316 million plus that could have been added to areas in our state that the government did not have to be a part of. And the church loves to be a resource. So this partnership's powerful. I remember Kenny and Kay here at our church, they responded to a call of two boys, Kyle, and the other one was Ashton, and both of them needed clothes. It was a situation. I remember after service, I said, hey, Pastor Earl, we've got to run. We're going to go by and pick up the boys and take them shopping. And took these boys shopping. We provided Publix cards. We've done a lot of gift cards to be able to provide different resources to people. In fact, there was one particular testimony where a grandmother had received custody of a child or grabbed her grandchild, and so she was in need of a car seat. So we responded to that. We purchased that. And then, you know, again, in our community, we already have relationships. And so that person who responded a couple days later reached out again, asked, how are you doing? What's going on? Prayed with them. Well, they ended up going to court. And when they came to court, you know, the prayer time that he had was, you know, we need to be able to keep full custody, and we definitely want to be able to restore my relationship with my daughter. That day she went to court. Her daughter was there. The judge gave her custody. Her daughter was restored in a relationship with her mother that now lives with her in her home. And the judge says, can you take this child home? And because of the car seat that we were able to purchase because of Care Portal and Hope, Florida, she was able to confidently tell the judge, yes, we can. And so I cannot say enough about how Hope, Florida has streamlined and made things available for the faith-based community and government. When people say there should be a separation between the two, it doesn't happen. It is a farce. Listen, the church is never going to come into government and tell you how you should write things for us. Neither is the government coming and telling us what to do. However, as just humans, we come together and we make a difference in our communities. And they had the insight to not leave a boat on the shore, but said there's plenty of people out here and this group's already been deployed. Let's help them help us, and together we can do more together. And I cannot be more excited to be a part of Hope, Florida, and helping this process along. Thank you again, Governor. Thank you, First Lady.
Well, I mean, that was some inspiring stuff. I really want to thank everybody that has been involved and continues to be involved. We're going to continue the momentum. We understand there's a lot more that needs to be done. We understand that the success is great, but ultimately you can't rest on that. You got to keep going forward. So we're going to be doing that. You're going to see some great announcements coming up in the next days and weeks, and I'm confident it will continue to really make a difference in people's lives. So thanks everybody that's been involved. Okay, I got time to take a few questions back there. Anybody?
Governor, can you clarify how the $10 million donation for Hope Florida is separate from that $67 million settlement last fall involving the Florida agency?
So ACA put out they put out the letter with all the documentation. So I would just look at that. It totally debunks the bogus media narratives that were out there. ACA had to do this. They did it appropriately, and it advanced the policies of the state of Florida. And I think those were very important documents to see.
Do you have a response though to those lawmakers that are still, trying to ask those questions about just the support?
So the documents that ACA put out, they were told this was coming. Partisan journalists were told this was coming, and they still tried to produce these phony narratives. Then the documents came out, and it showed basically what was done by ACA, how they negotiated it, and it also even had the documents from the company. So that debunks the phony narrative. Why are they doing the narrative? They're not doing it because they really care about that. They're doing it to try to impugn Hope Florida. They're trying to smear this program. Some of them, some of these lefty journalists don't like it. They don't like you working with the faith-based community. Some of these people, view it as a way to attack the First Lady and all the great things she's done because they view her as a threat. So that's what's motivating this. And so the reality is this has done an enormous amount of good, and I'm proud of the program, soup to nuts. All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
And the press conference with Governor Ron DeSantis just wrapping up there. He was alongside his wife, Casey DeSantis, in St. Augustine this morning. A press conference for Hope Florida, the foundation founded by the First Lady. And you heard there, he was answering questions after Republican lawmakers in Florida raised questions over millions of dollars donated to Hope Florida. But again, that press conference just wrapping up there. All right, we're going to switch gears now and come back home. So the investigation into a deadly shooting at a Rock Hill gas station, it continues. A 17-year-old is being charged as an adult in the murder of a 16-year-old. It happened just before 11:30 Tuesday night at the Quick Trip on South Cherry Road. Now, our Siobhan Riley spoke with the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, who is seeking solutions to try to steer young people away from violence onto the right track. Here's our full interview with the Boys and Girls Club executive director.
And James, I was just telling you, we're actually sitting at the gas station now at the Quick Trip gas station where a 16-year-old was shot and killed by a 17-year-old. When you hear that, what do you think when you hear that?
I think that, first of all, it's disheartening. And the reason I say that is because I actually really focus on this and look into this, and my undergraduate degree was in human services, and it related to this a lot. And it's hard to understand what goes through these kids' mind to create the point that they get to this point where they ruin their life and somebody else's life. Because when they kill somebody, they're not only killing that person, depriving them of their family and the family of them, but they're also depriving themselves and their family of the person that actually did the shooting. So no, it's disheartening, and I honestly think that we have to figure out a way to do early interventions, because we're losing these kids, and most of the time it's a self-esteem thing. Not all the time. Sometimes kids that are in the that have all the self-esteem in the world, it just feels like it becomes an ego thing. I saw some kids that were great athletes that was going to college, some that were in college that went this route. But a lot of times we forget about the kids that are not athletes or entertainers or something in there, and we forget about them. And I say we, I mean society. But the gangs and the people that are not trying to do something right, they don't forget about them. They're prime targets. That's their target market. They look for kids that don't have a lot going on and try to create something for them. And
you're trying to do something to really combat this problem. Can you talk about what your organization does and what you do to save these teens before it's too late?
Yes, we have a teen center, and everything we do has some type of prevention involved. And sometimes, it's more targeted than other times. We have a program coming up, a mentoring program that we're going to partner with DSS here in the very near future, going into next year. And it's going to be specifically geared toward that. Prior to this, it was about 2 years ago. It was right after COVID. They had a program they called the SAC program. Pardon me for getting what the actual acronym stood for. But that program was designed to get kids that had actually missed some time during COVID or fell behind, or as far as school or socialization, and to try to do something to intervene. And we were able to do a lot for some of those kids. I still see some of them. It's been a few years ago, and that let me know that there is a way to impact these kids. We think there's a foregone conclusion, and societally, we are very good at fixing things after the fact. These kids getting charged as adults. The punishment phase of it is fine, but what can we do to keep them from getting there? And there are a lot of factors that factor into it. One of the things I did with the kids in that program was I did an exit interview for each and every one of them. And I didn't just ask them how the program helped them. I wanted to know how did they get in the circumstances that most of them had some type of circumstances they were in. And I had some interesting answers. I had anything from my parents don't really care about what I do, so I do what I want to do. I had some that was just they felt so loyal to a gang. That's what they need to belong to something bigger than themselves. And society didn't present them many options, but the gang did. And unfortunately, a lot of these crimes these kids do is falling off a cliff. And what I mean that metaphorically is that you can't unkill someone no more than I can fall off a cliff and levitate back to the top. Once you take that stop, you're going to fall until you hit the bottom. And these kids, they don't understand that. They're in the mindset sometimes that they can get away with it. And sometimes it's peer pressure, and sometimes it's just honestly pure embarrassment. When they're getting an argument and it escalates, rather than losing a fight or losing an argument, they feel like their pride is more important than their freedom. But they're not thinking at that time. Their minds are not developed. You could just tell. And sometimes just putting ideas in their head and letting them grow, it's immeasurable what happens. You never know when that particular idea is going to be the thing that stopped that kid from doing what they're doing. You're not going to stop all of them, but we have to plant as many seeds. I'm a product of this. I grew up in a very tough neighborhood in Miami. The Liberty Square projects, you probably see them on the first 48 all the time. But I have mentors. And when those little forks in the road, I had somebody that I could fall back on or think about. Sometimes you don't want to disappoint people. Sometimes you don't want to hear somebody say, I told you so. And that little pause might be the one thing that make you go to the left or the right, whichever way that you should go, opposed to the other way. And I try to be that voice, and understanding. And like I said, we're geared that way. And I make sure all of my staff is geared the same way. And it just doesn't just start when they're teenagers, because in some cases, that's too late. Everything has accelerated as far as the timeline and when these kids find out of what's wrong and what's right or what they're doing. Some of the things that these kids know when they're 8, I didn't even know when I was 16, because I didn't have all the access to things. There was no internet. There was no, you understand? All of the access is good, but it also connects kids from different eras, different places, and different things. And we can blame it on whatever we want. And I think one of the things that I would love to do is have a parenting class for some of these kids. Because a lot of this is parenting. And it is not all parenting, but there's a connection. I've talked to parents that had kids that were in my program, and they was to the point of frustration with them. And a lot of times I found out that most of the time that the parents was kind of treating the kids like they were an adult and not understand where the kid was at. If I'm 25 years old and I'm getting tattoos and holes in my ears and nose, that's fine for me because I'm making those decisions. But that might not be fine for my 12-year-old. That might do something to them mentally that they can't come back from.
What is your message to the parents and to the kids?
My message to the kids, 2 different messages. My message to the kids is understand that there are no do-overs in life. What happens and what you do, especially when it comes to serious crimes like robbery and murder and all those different things, when it happens, that's that cliff that I told you about. There ain't no turning around. And once that door shut behind you, it's too late. Understand that every kid has a genius. Our job is to try to develop that genius and find it. The kid's job is to try to figure out what works for them. All of us are not going to be athletes. All of us are not going to be rappers, but all of us can be something. And my message to the parents is be a parent and understand that your kid is a kid and that you are not at the same level. You will be surprised at what I hear from parents. They're allowing their kids to do what they do and not understanding that their kids not mentally developed to do what they do. So that's my message. Understand, meet your kid where they're at. Do not think about your kid like you think about yourself right now. Think about your kid and where they're at when you was the age that they're at right now.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us. All the programs that you're talking about are associated with the Boys and Girls Club?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
And we have a teen center, and I actually waived the price. Kids can come for free, middle school and up. And that's because we're trying to get back in touch with teens, because after COVID, a lot of our teens fell off and we never recovered to the degree that we can. So we're doing, we offer the program for free. We bus from the majority of the middle schools right after school into our site at 1234 Flint Street Extension. And the parents can come pick them up there. It's free of charge. We give them a snack, and we always have programming directed toward them to try to help them cope with the things that, the relevant things in life and updated things in life.
Let me ask you this last question. When you heard about you hear about a 17-year-old, first of all, like even getting access to a gun and then killing a 16-year-old, what would your message also be to other kids to make sure that they don't go down this same path?
Excuse me. I will go back to the same message that I said, that understand that this is real. These kids don't understand this is real until it's too late. And the problem solving and dealing with it, whatever it is, there's a better way to deal with it than that. Because you don't just kill that kid, you kill yourself also. And we don't live in an era and a time where you actually ever get away with anything. The conviction rate for murder, especially kids that young, because they don't have the savvy to cover up for themselves, it's probably over 90%. So my point is, when you pull that trigger, you're not only killing that person's life, you're killing your life. And it's honestly not worth it. Whatever it is, I promise you, if you drive on, you'll outlive it. You outlive whatever hit it takes to your ego. You outlive whatever embarrassment it causes you. You would outlive whatever, for lack of better words, beef that you and that person have. But what you can't do is you can't undo what you do when you take someone's life. And take this from an Army guy. You kill somebody, part of you dies with them.
And that was Siobhan Riley's interview with the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club of York County, as he advocates to steer teens on